Good afternoon. You're watching Rajya Sabha TV. I'm your host Aditi. Let's get the bulletin rolling with the headlines. CBI arrests former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram from his residence in the INX media money laundering case. Congress leader to be produced before CBI court today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves on the three-nation tour to France, UAE and Bahrain, says engagements will strengthen India's relations with time-tested friends. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu returns from the three-nation tour of Baltic nations, urges India community to cooperate towards nation building in Estonia. Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik reviews security situation in the state, calls for constant alertness across the region. India look to start World Test Championship on a positive note. First test of two-match series against West Indies to begin from today in Antigua. CBI has arrested former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram in connection with INX media money laundering case. He was arrested by the probe agency on Wednesday night from his Johor Bagh residence in New Delhi. Chidambaram, who was kept at the CBI guest house after his arrest, will be produced before a special CBI court today, where the agency will seek his remand. The CBI was looking for Chidambaram since Tuesday after his anticipatory bail application was rejected by Delhi High Court Enforcement Directorate, and CBI had issued a lookout circular against Chidambaram. Before the arrest, Chidambaram on Wednesday appeared at the Congress headquarters along with his party colleagues and addressed the media. Reading out a statement to the media, he said he was not hiding from the law. He said there is no charge sheet filed by either ED or CBI before a competent court in this regard.
I have not been accused of any offence, nor has anyone else, including any member of my family, been accused of any offence. Thank you very much. In fact, there is no charge sheet filed by either the CBI or the ED before a competent court.
We have our reporter Ravinder Singh online with us. Let's understand what is the course of expected course of action to be taken in this case. Ravinder, what is the expected course of action to be followed in CBI court in Chidambaram case?
Yeah, good afternoon. Today, yesterday, when last night P. Chidambaram was arrested, since then the CBI is trying to interrogate him, and he stayed last night in the CBI headquarters only. And since morning, the information which we have received from our sources is that P. Chidambaram, the former finance minister, is not cooperating with the investigating agency, and he is not giving the required evidences and the documents which are available to him regarding the clearance of the FIPB of 305 crore rupees for the clearance of that was given to the INX media. After that, he will be produced to the court, the special CBI court, today only in the second half, as this is the law that within 24 hours after the arrest of any arrest, that person has to be produced in front of the nearest magistrate. So in this case, he will be produced to the CBI court, as this is a case which has been handled by the CBI. After that, the CBI here may seek police custody of P. Chidambaram, so that they can interrogate him further in and the investigating agencies, prosecutors today, they will go and they will produce all the evidences which they have received from P. Chidambaram during the course of interrogation the whole of the night, and today so far till the date. And the police custody is also one of the important aspects, because in the High Court, during the proceedings of the High Court, the CBI has said that P. Chidambaram, who is not cooperating, he is an accused in this case, though his name is not reflecting in the FIR, but he is, after the interrogations, after the investigations going ahead, his name is reflecting in the evidences, and by some of the accused has also indicated towards his name. So he is an important person, and his custodial interrogation is very much necessary to bring this case to the justice. So these are the pleas
Thank you so
the
much for this
CBI may take.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today emplaned for Paris for the first leg of his three-nation visit to France, the UAE and Bahrain. During the visit, Modi will hold talks with French President Emmanuel Macron to strengthen strategic ties in key sectors such as defense, nuclear energy, maritime cooperation and counter-terrorism. He will meet his French counterpart and address the Indian community at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate a memorial for Indian victims of two tragic air crashes of Air India flights in 1950 and 1966. The Prime Minister is scheduled to attend the G7 summit, where India has been invited as a partner country. Prime Minister Modi will also visit the Gulf nations of United Arab Emirates and Bahrain on 23rd to 25th of August. Ahead of his visit to France, the UAE and Bahrain, Prime Minister Modi said that the engagements will strengthen India's relations with time-tested friends and help explore new areas of cooperation. In his departure statement, the Prime Minister said his visit to France reflects a strong strategic partnership which the two countries deeply value and share. He said in France, he is looking forward to holding talks with President Emmanuel Macron and Prime Minister Philippe. He added that he would also interact with the Indian community and dedicate a memorial to the Indian victims of the two Air India crashes in France in the 1950s and 1960s. The Prime Minister said that in UAE there would be comprehensive talks with His Highness the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi. He said he is looking forward to jointly release the stamp to commemorate the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi along with His Highness the Crown Prince. He said it will be an honor to receive the Order of Zayed, the highest civilian decoration being conferred by the UAE government during his visit. Modi said his visit to Bahrain would be the first ever prime ministerial visit to the kingdom. He said he is looking forward to meeting Prime Minister, His Royal Highness Prince Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman Al Khalifa. He would also be meeting King of Bahrain, Sheikh Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and other leaders. And we have our correspondent Akhilesh Suman online with us. Let's understand about the Modi's visit. Akhilesh, despite being a non-member, PM Modi has been invited as a partner country at the G7 summit. That is quite an honor. Please tell us more about his visit, the details of the visit actually.
Yeah, actually, the Prime Minister has been invited by French President Emmanuel Macron, who is the host. And Macron's decision is very important, that you cannot discount India in this present world. India is the largest democracy in the world and second largest population in the world. So if we are going to talk about, how the world is moving and what should be the future of the world, you have to accommodate India. And I think French President has taken a decision keeping this thing in mind. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going there as Berry's partner. He is not just a guest, he is going like a partner of G7 in that way. And if you have heard, US President Donald Trump has also hinted that he may like to talk to Prime Minister Narendra Modi in, at the venue of Berry. So I think this is going to be very important visit of Prime Minister when he is going to address at least 4 sessions in the G7 summit. And in the 4 sessions, you can understand that all the powerful nations of the world will be present there and Prime Minister will be the 8th. So in that way, I think it's a very important visit. Other than that, you know that he will be reaching Paris tonight around 9:45 p.m. and the whole program pans up to 11:45 p.m. in the night according to Indian time. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be, received by French President, and then they will have a delegation level talk. But before that, they will have one-to-one talk also. So I think France and India gel together very well in present day's world. And if you remember that for last 7 years or so, France has become a very reliable partner of India. Both have no hiccup relationship, and French are committing India what India needs in this point in time. And you know that one of the biggest defense deals in these times is a Rafale deal with France. So I think defense is one of the pillars of France-India relations. But other than that, we are also trying to expand our relationship in other areas, like skill development is growing up in a very big way, and we are hoping that when Prime Minister will have a delegation level talk, some major agreement will be also signed on the issue of skill development. So it is the expanding relationship and keeping the reality of the world, present day world. And you know that as the Prime Minister will be meeting 7 powerful nations in France, he will be also meeting 2 powerful nations in the Middle East, UAE and Bahrain. So the whole discourse about India that was trying to be vitiated by Pakistan, raising the issue of Article 370, Prime Minister is going to take some Muslim nations into confidence, and I think this is one of the major confidence that UAE is giving Prime Minister the highest civilian award. So I think this is recognition of how India is trying to traverse, navigate and intervene in world affairs in this point of time.
Right, Akhilesh, it's quite an honor to be given the Order of Zaid award. Thank you so much for talking to us, Akhilesh. Let's go forward with our bulletin now. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar paid a courtesy call on Nepalese President Vidya Devi Bhandari today at her official residence in Kathmandu, Nepal. On Wednesday, Jaishankar held productive discussions with his Nepalese counterpart, Pradeep Gayawali, and the 2 leaders comprehensively reviewed the bilateral relations and identified priority areas for cooperation. The 2 leaders co-chaired the 5th meeting of the Nepal-India Joint Commission. The Commission expressed happiness over momentum generated in overall aspects of Nepal-India relations following the exchange of high-level visits in the past 2 years. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu successfully concluded visit to the 3 Baltic nations. Before departing for Delhi, Venkaiah Naidu addressed Indian community in Estonia. He urged Indian diaspora to contribute in India's development agenda. He informed the gathering that India has made significant progress in its journey over the last 70 years.
I'm very happy to know that Indian community in Estonia has done well and having integrated with Estonia's society and culture while preserving their roots. My advice to all the Indians who are working here, keep in touch with your roots. Whoever comes to abroad, other countries, my advice to them, including youngsters, is go. No problem in going, because we also have enough population nowadays. Go, learn, earn, and return. At the end of the day, you have to come back to your motherland to serve your country.
Pitching for investments in India, Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu told the India-Estonia Business Forum that India's growing middle class is of over 400 million, and its vibrant business ecosystem is fostered under a stable democratic governance system, which makes India an attractive destination for international trade and business. Reiterating that India was committed to respect Mother Earth and have an inclusive and sustainable growth, he said that India has itself a target of producing 175 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2022, including 100 gigawatts of solar energy. Vice President has invited the Estonian government to participate actively in the forthcoming India-Europe 29 Business Forum to be held on 20th to 21st November in New Delhi, which is a focused event for strengthening cooperation between India and the 29 countries of Europe.
India offers one of the largest investment opportunities in the renewable space. The Government of India allows 100% FDI under the automatic route for projects for renewable power generation and distribution. Our growing large middle class of over 400 million and a vibrant business ecosystem fostered under a stable democratic governance system and make India an attractive destination for international trade and business. Our sustained efforts to create a business-friendly environment have led to a spectacular jump of 65 places in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business Index in the last 4 years. India has become an IT superpower in the recent decades, with more than 53% of our GDP coming from the service sector. India has been growing over 7% for several years. The forecast for the future is equally optimistic. India is likely to grow to a $5 trillion economy by 2025. India's labor force is expected to touch 160 to 170 million by 2020. Based on this rate of population growth, increased labor force participation, higher education enrollment, among other factors, according to a study by Associam and Thought Arbitrage Research Institute. India is expected to achieve upper middle class income status on the back of digitization, globalization, favorable demographies, and reforms.
Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu addressed the heads of foreign missions located in Estonia on this last leg of Baltic nations visit. Vice President reiterated that restructuring of the state of Jammu and Kashmir was completely internal affair and stressed that the misinformation spread by the neighbouring country was totally unwarranted. Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu on Wednesday
of the Estonian Parliament mission at Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Tallinn. Calling the restructuring of Jammu and Kashmir a totally internal affair, the Vice President asserted that India's neighbour was spreading misinformation.
Many of the development initiatives are not reaching that state, and that state being a strategic state because it's the border, and then as our neighbour is trying to take advantage and then create a wedge between people of the rest of the country and that state. The Parliament, in its collective wisdom, have decided to do away with that, and that has happened, and now people are happy about it. But unfortunately, some people are carrying negative propaganda against the decision of the government. Nobody has got any right to interfere in the internal affairs of any country.
The Vice President also gave a call for reforming multilateral bodies like the United Nations. He said it was essential to democratize such organizations to reflect contemporary realities. The Vice President reiterated that India valued democracy, freedom and independence, while asserting that at the same time, India recognizes realities of an interconnected world where cooperation was the only way forward.
The Indo-Pacific as a new theatre for geostrategic contestation or an exclusive club of limited number of nations. It includes all nations in this geography and other beyond who have a stake in it. We will work with all the people in the region to keep the seas, space, airways free and open, to keep nations secure from terrorism, piracy, to ensure global cyberspace is free from disruption, and to ensure access to and responsible use of global commons.
India and Estonia signed 3 MOUs on the occasion, including extension of cooperation in cybersecurity, granting visa exemptions for diplomatic passport holders. Rajkamal Rao's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu on Wednesday held talks with the President on Estonia. And in a joint statement, India and Estonia reiterated that their resolve to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. More details in this report.
Vice President M Venkaiah Naidu on Wednesday held talks with Kersti Kaljulaid, President of the Republic of Estonia. In a joint statement after discussion, both leaders reiterated their resolve to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations.
We recognize the importance of building a global order based on respect for international law and national sovereignty. We reiterate our resolve to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. We also discussed common concerns such as climate change and global warming. I invited Estonia to join the International Solar Alliance, in which India is playing a leading role in order to enable rapid deployment of solar energy globally and to facilitate transfer of technology.
Vice President said the Estonian President and his delegation reviewed bilateral relations and potential areas of cooperation between both the nations.
I congratulate Estonia on their election to the non-permanent membership of the United Nations Security Council for next year. In this context, we are looking forward to working closely with Estonia in the United Nations Security Council. President Kaljulaid and I agreed to strengthen the bilateral cooperation in trade and commerce, especially IT, e-governance, cyber security, innovation and education.
Naidu also called on Jüri Ratas, the Prime Minister of Estonia, at his office at Stenbock House. After attending a lunch hosted by Estonia's President, Naidu met Hen Poulas, President of Regi Kogu, at the Parliament of Estonia. Earlier, the Vice President was given a ceremonial welcome at the Presidential Palace. He also paid tributes to fallen heroes at the Vabadu Square.
The Vice President and the Estonian President held high-level delegation talks in the Presidential Palace in Estonia today. Both the delegations have discussed on matters of national and international importance. Issues such as extending economic cooperation, IT and telecommunications, pharmaceuticals, climate change and other issues have been discussed. Both the leaders have reiterated their commitment to fight against the menace of terror at the global level. With camera person Dushmanta, Raj Kamal, Rajya Sabha TV.
MNS Chief Raj Thackeray has been summoned by the Enforcement Directorate in a money laundering case. He reached the agency's office in Mumbai today. The ED has summoned Raj Thackeray in a case pertaining to alleged irregularities related to infrastructure leasing and financial services loan. Home Minister Amit Shah chaired the 24th meeting of Western Zonal Council, a forum for the centre and states to exchange ideas on issues like health, security and social welfare in Goa. Chief Ministers of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Goa and representatives from the Union Territories of Daman and Diu and Dadra and Nagar Haveli attended the meeting. The zonal councils provide a forum where issues between the centre and the states and among the states themselves can be resolved through free and frank discussions and consultations. The zonal councils are headed by the Union Home Minister and each zone nominates one Chief Minister as its Vice Chairman on rotation basis. In Jammu and Kashmir, the situation has improved considerably, especially in Kashmir Valley. Jammu and Kashmir Governor Satyapal Malik on Wednesday reviewed the security situation in Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh regions and called for constant alertness to ensure peace and normalcy. The governor also emphasized the need for constant alertness, preparedness and synergy among various departments and agencies to enable dealing with emerging situation in a coordinated and effective manner. As many as 774 middle schools out of 3,000 reopened on Wednesday in Kashmir for the first time since 5th August. In view of the improving situation, the movement of people and traffic slowly increased in Srinagar city and other district headquarters of the valley. Public transport stayed off the roads, but a few inter-district cabs and auto rickshaws were seen plying in some areas. Jammu and Kashmir administration said hospitals and banks are functioning normally in Kashmir. Union Home Secretary Rajiv Gauba will be the new Cabinet Secretary. Gauba, who is a 1982 batch IAS officer of Jharkhand cadre, will replace P.K. Sinha. The Appointments Committee of the Cabinet has approved the appointment of Gauba as the Cabinet Secretary with a tenure of 2 years from 30th of this month. It has also approved the appointment of Gauba as officer on special duty in the Cabinet Secretariat from the date of his assumption of charge till he takes over as Cabinet Secretary. Aimed at training over 42 lakh teachers across the country, the HRD Ministry on Wednesday launched the National Initiative for Schools, School Heads and Teachers Holistic Advancement or NIShtha. Over 33,000 trainers will train over 42 lakh teachers in world's biggest project for teacher training. The initiative's website, training modules, primer booklet and mobile app were launched by HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank.
शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में यह अभिनव प्रयोग है और लगातार शिक्षकों को नित नए जो अन्वेषण हो रहे हैं नए ज्ञान के साथ उनको जोड़ा जाएगा ताकि वो हमारे छात्र को हमारे बच्चे को और सशक्त तरीके से खड़ा कर सकें।
India will look to start their World Test Championship on a positive note, especially after a complete domination over the West Indies in the limited over series. The first test of the two-match series will begin today at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium in North Sound and Antigua. Earlier, India thrashed the West Indies to sweep the three-match T20 International Series and won the three-match one-day International Series 2-0. And with this, it's a wrap on this bulletin. Thank you so much for joining us.